Good afternoon for all. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the invitation for Virthulab. I'm Vinicius. I'm PhD candidate from Unicinos University in Brazil. And today I will talk about the biometrical measures and the consumer neuroscience, the role of eye tracking. I will talk about some kinds of biometrical measures, but the focal point of my presentation is about eye tracking, because this is the biometrical measures that I used during my research. Well, but what is a biometrical measure? Well, biometrical recognition refers to automated recognition of some individual aspects based on their biological and behavior characteristics of each participant. Such as, we can look for a lot of things that use it to measure biological aspects of one participant, one individual. The first is the fMRE, the functional magnetic resonance imaging. What is the best in this approach? Well, we can see all the brain and we can identify all the neighbor areas. But of course there is a limitation, because fMRE is very expensive. It's not possible to the participants to move around inside the machine, of course, and it's physically restricting the natural behavior of a participant. After that, we have the EEG. The EEG understand the brain movements, the brain activity of one participant is more faster than fMRI and allow the movements, but it's impossible with this approach to investigate the deep brain structures, the spatial localization of brain, and there is this problem in this approach. The next is more simple, is the GSR, the conductive skin analyzer, and the heart rate. And this is very simple to use, permits the natural behavior of a participant, but it's impossible to analyze the valence of one person with this approach. And the next is the facial affective recording. Well, this is a very interesting approach, but we have a problem with this, that is the noise. And after the presentation we can demonstrate, we can perceive in a real practice this problem. And but it's an interesting thing, because combined with other approaches, it's possible to make a large scale research. Is dynamic, is easy to implement. But the problem, of course, is the noise. And finally, my research is based in eye tracking. Eye tracking analyze where we looking, who we looking, and what kind of stimulus attract our attention for something in an environment. Eye tracking is a very old approach to make research. The initial analysis is did for Wall in 1 century and a half behind, because this guy discovered that with saccades and fixations we can identify the eye movement and the perception of each person. After that, this guy investigated built, in fact, the first eye tracking, but it's a very difficult and invasive device, because the participants need to put a contact lens with a little open in the pupil to investigate the nature of this pupil. And of course, this is a problem to make research, no? It's too invasive. This is the first machine to analyze eye movements after the initial initiative. Look for this is very big and difficult, the participants' movement. It's impossible to participants to move. But this machine was used to investigate the difference between oral and silent reading and demonstrate in 30s that is different for a person to read in high, low or silent voice. After that, in 60s and 70s, Yarbus made some research and impact the eye tracking research because the guy proved that the stimulus can change our perception and can change the movement of our eyes. Then start a long time research line with this research. And after, in 90s, the eye tracking research was adopted by marketing research to analyze some accessibility to sites, some advertising improvements, and other things. And now, this is the modern eye trackings. The eye trackings with the fixed stabilization and with glasses, with movement allow eye trackers. That is very different from the start of use of eye trackers. No? If you look for this image, it's simple to perceive that participants don't see the eye tracker. This is very interesting because it's not, if persons don't perceive the device, they act more naturally during the experimentation, during the task. And it's very interesting, this topic. And this is the kinds of eye trackers today. The stationary trackers and the glasses, of course. But how work an eye tracker? An eye tracker is based in the concept of pupil-centered reflection. The eye tracker put light, a near-infrared light, in the participant's eyes, and then with a recorder can measure the movements and the fixations of each eye. Why this is important? Because with this approach, it's perfectly possible to get some information in objectively, quickly, and non-invasively way. It's easy to get this data from the participants to assess, of course, the inconscient choices of a person. Then, what is important to know about eye tracking research? In 5 steps, I can really fast to explain for you how we can get some information and make a research with eye tracking. First, we will analyze the see sense after the visual attention theory. Next, the theory to the practice, analyzing the data, and offer a solution. 5 very fast steps. First, about our eyes. Well, we have in the see sense a very interesting thing. Please, put your finger in front of you now. Okay, all of you. Sorry for the guys that make this test the other day. Okay, look, fix your eyes in this finger. Okay, and now please answer for me. How much fingers I put in my hand. It's impossible, no? It's impossible because you fixed your eyes in one point, and your paravision, your peripheral vision don't perceive details. Based in this, eye tracking just analyze the fixation, the point of your eye really look, because the peripheral vision don't perceive details and don't get information with this approach. The eye tracking is based in the movement of this part of the eyes, the fovea, that can get the information and offer for our brain this information to make some reaction. In this context, two important concepts are receive more attention: the saccades and fixations. Please look for this image. Okay, just 1 second for look. What do you think that you look for this? You think in a really slow movement that perceive all the details of the picture, but really, your movement is this. You probably start in the left top of the image, put salt, jump for the other part, and don't stop, because your saccade is the most faster movement that you have in your body. It's important to say this because you can control your eye movement. Okay, let's go to see this video. I don't know if you have sound here. I don't know. Okay, I will stop here and put. It's impossible to put, but here. Okay, this is a video that demonstrates, that show for you how an eye tracker functions. These points that the circles that you look, is the fixation of the participant that look for the video and observe each movement that you occur. Look that the traces is the saccades of each movement, and if you can perceive the guy, look for the babies, the name of the babies, and for every part, central part of the movie. It's difficult for one person to look for the extremes because the video is very fast. What is the inside here? If you are a marketer, you need to concentrate your best informations in the center of the video, because the persons will perceive here. Look, just in the final, the marketer put the history in top of the video without other symbols, because this can perceive the real environment. Well, the visual attention theory, it's the theoretical basement that define the use of eye trackers. In the past, the theoretical consider the visual attention just a part to get, to offer something. And now, we discover that this visual attention is just the top of the iceberg. We can investigate with visual attention the cognitive process, the memories, and the choices of each person. And in the marketing, we can understand how some top-down factors, so refers to consumer characteristics, or bottom-up factors referring to stimulus present in the scene, present in this way, can affect the visual attention, and of course we can understand how the visual attention can affect the consumer behavior, or in your case, of course, the behavior of the participants, the behavior of the patients, and other things. For example, we discovered with this approach that the presence of food in a scene can attract a lot of more visual attention. Remember when you look in the Facebook or Instagram or another social network, a picture of a food. There is a lot of comments and likes, no? People like food, no? Yes. Well, to collect data with eye tracking, it's very important to get a standard and robust experimental design to offer, to identify how much and how kind of participants we need to make this research, and to define the interest areas in our research. For example, if we will investigate a site, it's possible with the software, with the eye tracking, to define some areas of interest. We can define, for example, the title or the image of baby, and define and understand how much time the person look for each part of the site. And other outcome of eye tracker, simple outcome, is the head map. We can identify how long time the participants look, and for each part, and what is the part that call more attention for these participants. But this is, of course, the first approach. The eye tracking offers metrics that can be understood in a deep approach. The metrics of eye tracking refers to the number of fixations, the fixation durations, the gaze path, or say the way of the look, and the big for me today is the pupillometry of each participant. I will show for you a little spreadsheet. Is from my thesis, and this is the spreadsheet for one participant. Oh, sorry, it's impossible to see. I will make this duplicate here. Okay, it's difficult to see, but this is the spreadsheet of my thesis. It's 20 seconds of each participant, and here I concentrate one participant during all the tasks. And look, we have a big data of exportation with information about the left eye and the right eye pupil size. And what this is important for us? Because with this approach, we can investigate how one stimulus can interact with the pupil size of one person. And I discovered with this approach that participants that is one condition, is difficult to see here, I observe, has a different behavior, a different pupil size during the task of other participants. And at the same time, the duration of the task. For example, here, the participants that is in a risky condition invest more time to make a choice. But in the same way, these participants perceive invest less attention. He has less working load because the pupil size is less to make this choice. Then this can be used to give for us a lot of insights. But the eye tracker outcomes can be more effective if we analyze the fixation sequences, the distance of each participant to the screen, the vergence or the divergence of each eye, and the blinks of the participant. We can get a lot of insights. And these insights are used for what? In marketing research, our first project is used to analyze some natural products. This is natural products seller in Brazil, and I take just one to show for you. This is a soda sold for this company, and how you can see, it's interesting that the participants look for the soda with the same standard of one participant look for a Coca-Cola, a Coke. And the best information is in the under of this package, is no conservants, and the persons don't look for this. And this insight can be used to redesign this package and offer for the company a best solution. Here is another interesting research that I work today, that is the co-creation. The participants in co-creation intend to buy more when co-create, but look less for the packages. It's interesting because during all the time the research say, well, the persons that participate in the building of a new product will look more, will get more attention in this, and will buy more. No, they will buy more, but it's easy to make some mistakes because the participants don't have attention to the task. To think, finally, how much times we wake up in the after midnight and look for the freezer and stay in front of the freezer, search for milk, search for other thing, and don't find the milk. It's see, of course, is different to perceive something. Then the data that our eye tracking can offer for us need to be understood. But all depends on how we look at things and not how they are in themselves. Then guys, thank you for the opportunity. I'm open for questions, I'm open for discussion and for future research. Thank you.